It's another awesome week. Glad to be here. It's always a blessing to be a blessing. Just like, ooh, got this little lovely flyaway. um, just like you are with those that are in your life. And mm, again, I'm just glad to be obedient. And sometimes it feels a little whew, apprehensive. I get a little apprehensive because I'm still not you be on a camera is not something those that grew up saying I always want to be on camera, they got this, but I wasn't that person. So this is new. It's continuously new, but it's a new in a good way. It's refreshing. It's something I don't necessarily just get used to, so it keeps me on my toes. But enough about me. Just want to check in. It is definitely Christmas week, and just want to say Merry Christmas. I pray you have a Happy New Year. I'm just going to go ahead and say that in advance. And just taking a moment to kind of look towards what's to come, what's really to come in these next few years, however many years that He graces us with time on this earth, not never to be taken for granted. So just looking into and just really taking stock, not telling you to go pull out a piece of paper and figure out what your life is gonna, what you're gonna do next year. No resolutions, none of that. But really taking a moment to really understand purpose. Purpose in the sense of it's a journey. You can figure out what you're supposed to do, but it's a journey to really bring all of that, see all of that, do the things that you need to do, and really where purpose leaves impact, not only in your life, but those that are around you. It's not something, that is microwave. Purpose has a plan. And the purpose and plan and how that all gets executed, although we do have our actions that we need to take and the things that we need to do, God has it all together. When we get let in on what that looks like and we just follow directions and walk it out, some beautiful things that we can see, not only in just seeing it happen, but the growth we see in ourselves and realizing, oh dang, if I had brought this self to this table, this wouldn't have been good. But He grew me to be this person, and now I'm at this table, and that makes sense. It makes sense now. It didn't make sense before. Now I know when you get to those moments like, oh, that's why I didn't get here at this time. Oh, I didn't know that person. This person needs to come into play. It all comes together. And so I just wanted to, why I said, for you to take stock and just kind of look at life right now and just take a reflection and just more as into understanding. It's a journey. So don't beat yourself up. Show yourself some grace. Because you just don't know. Because there's some things that we have to do individually, some things that He directs us for, He gives us instructions for. You'll hear these things where you're like, I think I'm supposed to, something told me, yeah, all that you say, something led me, all of that. Where it might be, you volunteer somewhere, or you take a new job, or you take a new route, or you met somebody through church, or you met somebody at the store, and all of these little things start to shift our plans. Like if you met, let's take it from the simplest form, if you met somebody at the store and all of a sudden you're like, oh, we should connect and stay in touch. And now this person's inviting you to places you've never been before. Hopefully good places, because if it's a negative way, you might not go in the direction you need to go. But, and that's not always necessarily true. So I'm definitely not going to browbeat because anybody for that gets into trouble. Why? Because when we look at Joseph was in a jail, but he did some awesome things. They all looked to him. Not only did the correctional officers, but that wasn't what they were called back then, but let's say correctional officers, they gleaned towards him. They appreciated, they honored him, and even those that he was in the jail with. So I hate to say you got called to jail, anybody's called to any jail, anything like that, but we have to know that in all things, God works it out for his glory. So therefore there's a plan, there's a direction for that. Don't think he didn't know about that. He knows about every little nooks and turns and the things that try to come up against us. Sometimes, there's a lot of times he warns us in these things, but at the end of the day, he can still work it out and still make it where you get to where you're supposed to go and to the destination that you're supposed to be in. And that people that get touched from who you are. And those are those that want to walk with him. I'm just be honest, it's not going to be just every and anybody. At the end of the day, it's those that choose to walk with him. He will guide and open up that path. That's my little tidbit in the middle. But, so my point is that he has when you're talking about plans, we have our plan, of course, because I always have a plan, strategy or something like that. But then you see something bigger happen, and that's when you gotta go, oh, God had a bigger plan. You ever get those moments where you go, oh, well, I didn't expect that to come from me. This is way bigger than I thought it was gonna be. That's when he goes, yep, you took this instruction, you did that. So here, and so that's why I say, so if, say you meet someone tomorrow, friend, relationship, whatever it is, and as you connect with them, there's a shift that tends to happen. If you get a job, there's a new group of people now that you're around that you didn't expect to be around, and that shifts some things. It might even in your job, this new job that you have that might not be that great, it still plays a part in your growth, because if you choose right, then you're choosing to say, okay, I don't accept that, but I do this, and then I do accept this, or I don't, and you start to learn these boundaries. And in those boundaries, you start to grow, because then you know what are your what are your no's, and what are your yeses, and that's important to know. You need to know that, so you know what paths you're willing to go down, which ones you're not willing to go down. And so you could be in a bad working environment, but there's some good that can still come out of that. It might be in you learning how to communicate with people better. You learning how to be more patient and have grace with people, despite what they lack and what they're not willing to do. Things to think about. So again, whatever a new thing that comes along, don't necessarily fight it, because it helps to bring about change, and in change there's growth, right? So here are the things. So God might instruct you to do one of those things. Meet this person, get a new job, open those doors. He loves it. Here are the doors that are open that says, here, go down this path. But what's interesting is sometimes we think we know what that plan is. Oh, I connected with this person, and they know this person, and I was talking about, and I think this is going to happen. And then something totally different happens. I'll give you an example. I had the opportunity to volunteer my time at a children's home in another country. And I took those liberties as often as I could, until one time, till I got to a place where I had released myself from that 9-to-5 job. And so freelancing allowed me to go wherever and whenever I wanted to. And so I took that liberty of saying, okay, I'm gonna go to this other country for at least 3 months, and do some, be able to help them work on one particular thing. So I had a plan. My plan was a date, 3 months. My plan was a specific area that I was going to help in, and then leave. That was my plan. Do you think that's what happened? No. I heard the call to go, and in that call, I made a plan. But he said, he made the call. And when he made the call, meaning he made the decision, and I followed that instruction, although I might have had a plan, here was a total plan. So I ended up being there for 8 months. And there was growth for me. Why? Because I would have never thought, just on my own self, like, you can run a children's home. You can help teach them. You can help with the day-to-day, and be all these things, and you can be a principal. You can do all these things. And those are things that I probably deep down wanted to, but you kind of, when things that you want to do, you kind of go, but if I do that, don't I need this? I need this degree, and then I'm going to need this. And then when you start thinking about all the things that you need to become this, whatever it is you want to be, a lot of times we talk ourselves out of it, right or wrong. I know I have plenty of times where I'm like, I'm not doing that, so I don't think I'm gonna do that. I don't think I was called for that. And you just kind of walk yourself out. And here it is, I'm there wanting to be a part of the volunteer program, making sure things were in place and making sure things were in right to make sure the kids didn't get hurt and the wrong people were around them. And then I got elevated, promoted to being the second in command. When the head of the home had to leave for a short period of time, I had to step into that place and be that person. Not only was I making sure that children were taken care of, 50 plus kids were being taken care of, but that the staff was being taken care of. Making sure they got paid, making sure that they had a good working environment, making sure no kids got hurt. And then there was a homeschool there. I then became principal, and as well as teacher. I didn't expect that when I left. That's not what I thought I was going to be doing. If you had said you're going to do all that, I promise you I'd have been like, no, I'm good. That's too much. I don't even know how to do that. Became caretaker to some infants. How awesome is that? So, I wasn't expecting it. That wasn't my plan, but God had a plan. So don't take those little instructions and be like, but what am I supposed to do with that? Trust him. Just step out on it, because he can do greater things than us. The littlest things becomes bigger things. So serving doesn't, I know when people hear the word serving, there's definitions that are out there that don't give it that place of honor. Serving tends to be, I gotta serve this church, I gotta do this, and then they're gonna abuse and take advantage of me and stuff like that. I've been there. I understand. It's not necessarily serving as in somebody's gonna get my labor and not pay me for it or anything like that. There's so many things that when the word serving has so many meanings for different people, but at the end of the day, it's a willing heart. Willing heart to look beyond yourself, willing heart to help someone else, and whatever that may be. A lot of times, if you think about it, we serve our family members, we serve our friends, we serve where we work, when we do things outside of the norm. And if you take it a step further and you volunteer your time, when you volunteer your time maybe at church. So yet, it gets that term, serving as volunteering. At maybe a children's home, at maybe a sporting event, whatever it may be. A lot of times, sometimes that can be your ministry, because it connects you with people. And so the question is, what people does God want to connect you with? And pay attention to that, because that might be taps into your calling, taps into your circle of where your strengths are and where you can bless another person. So serving it can have a glamorous side to it and not so glamorous side to it. It's about just having a willing heart to be obedient to God and doing some things where he needs us to go to. And sometimes in that serving, there is a payment there, and sometimes they're not from the outside person. But guess what? He repays us. And sometimes we lose sight of that, because I've had moments where I felt like I've served to a point where you feel like other people have taken advantage of it. But when you get time to release them and forgive them, and you really reflect with God, you get to see that there was some growth there, some growth in yourself. It might just be as simple as learning I'm not going there. I'm not doing that for you, but I'm willing to do this for you. I know how to say no, and I know how to say yes. So you learn those things along the way. It's not so negative. We assume we know what the task is he's given us, what the answer is at the end. It's like when a teacher gives you you start learning a new subject in school, and you're like, oh, I already know this subject. Where are you going with it? And they start a project, and they're like, okay, now that you did this, go do this project. And you're like, but I already know all about this. But Have you ever noticed that when you've done a project for something that you did start learning in school, and now you had to do a couple more research at the end, you go, oh, I didn't know that. Wow, that was fascinating. I actually enjoyed this class because I actually learned something deeper, and it becomes something in your memory bank. So it can stretch you, especially you just don't know what the full plan is. So just step out on there and serve, let you be of service to God. I know I've had to do plenty of time when I've worked with other people, because some people are just frustrated. I'm gonna be honest, some people are just frustrated. You just be like, but Jesus, take them away, or take me, one or the other, take one of us. And you just feel, and he just constantly pushes you back there, and you kind of go, I know I've had that moment. I was like, I don't want to. And being obedient in the sense of saying, all right, so you're not going to release me to go anywhere else. These are my conversations with God. I'm not telling you to have the same thing. This is just me, because he speaks to each one of us in a different way based on who we are. And this is my personality. And so this is my conversation with God, and me saying, I don't want to go down this door. You can go ahead and close this door, and I can go through another one. Please release me. And there's no release. And I'm just like, why, Lord, why? And I go, all right. I know there was one time in my life, and there's plenty of other times that are coming up where I'm like, okay, I'm going to move past this. Move past it by me saying this much. I remember the last one where I was just like, I just can't. But it was not any other thing I could do but do this. And I was like, all right, if I'm sent to do this, then I'm going to put the person I'm serving out of my mind and focus on you. And if I focus on you, since I'm choosing to focus on you, then I'm going to do it in excellence. Because why? Psalms 8 says, O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is your name. So he's an excellent God. And we're made in his image and his likeness. So I have to do this work with excellence and go beyond and do what, even, when there's people that you don't like, that you really don't want to serve, you do the very bare minimum. You go, I'm going to just do this, and I'm not doing this. I worked like I loved the job, and that was my excellence, showing up every day. And I was freelancing, so I could have been like, I'm not coming today, I'm not doing that. But I did, showed up every day, whenever I could, and do the things that I could, and just did that work. And what started out as seeming like, oh my God, what is this, turned into something absolutely beautiful. I have such memories that are just a joy to go over, in all the things that I got to do, the people I got to meet, because it opened up doors for so many other things that I just didn't expect. Now, for whether it was for the right reason or that's for those people on that side. But as for me, I appreciated what I had learned, and I got to also learn something about myself, in that I can move past the tough moments. That even in tough situations, I can do it. I don't need to buckle underneath it, so that we know that we can do it. So I say the same thing to you. Just step out there, do what you are called to do, what he requires of you, what he's asked you to do. And you can ask for confirmation, because sometimes we hear things, and a lot of times the things that we hear are from things that we've had in our past or somebody else has done. And so that sometimes that is not his message to you. But you can always ask him for confirmation. And he will confirm his word or whatever he's asking you to do. And it'll show up. Even when you go, I don't want to do it, it'll pop up again. You go, okay, all right. It done popped up way too many times in too many different ways. Okay, so this is what you want me to do, God? All right, this is what I'm going to do. Because there's a lot of noise out here. And we have to filter the noise. It's sad that we have to, but we have to filter the noise when God's trying to talk to us, because it's a competition for our minds. Spiritual warfare, is that not what he talks about? It's a competition for our minds. And where our minds go, our bodies go. So we have to stay focused on him, right? Do some awesome things. So, at the end of the day, you are a solution to someone. You are a miracle. And you can do some wondrous things and bless someone's life. Just stay the course. Be obedient to his instructions. And watch how he just blossoms your life. Okay? Have a blessed one. It is always a pleasure. Thank you for tuning in.